Hello, my friends. This is Lynda Lippin, and welcome to the Pilates Goddess podcast. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Pilates Goddess podcast. This is your host, Lynda Lippin. I know I have not been here for a hot minute. You know, life is just interesting. So before I start on today's topic, which is about teaching and taking large multi-level Pilates reformer classes, I just want to give you a quick update on my life. So I think I've discussed many times on the podcast that after having COVID a couple of years ago, twice, I have had chronic joint, muscular, and nerve pain. And I have been on a lot of medication to handle the pain on the daily basis. Non-narcotic, but still just a lot of medication. And over the past couple of months, I've actually been able to cut my dose almost in half. In fact, as of next week, I'll be on exactly half. And then I'm titrating down from there. Am I completely out of pain? Absolutely not. But I decided to see if I could find the level at which I could live and handle it with less pain medication. And that's kind of what I'm going for. Of course, the Pilates is helping. Of course, the strength training is helping. Of course, the mobility work is helping. But, um, sometimes it's just a matter of time. So I'm doing that. The second thing is that I've postponed the move to Bermuda to the end of October, which is actually when our apartment lease is up. So it's a perfect time. And I did that for a number of reasons, but the biggest one is that our lovely dog, Juniper, who is a rescue from the dog meat trade in Thailand, like she was in one of those horrible crates on one of those horrible trucks with like dead dogs and stuff on her way to a butcher. And we rescued her via Posh Pets and Soy Dog about 10 years ago. She's had mast cell cancer her entire life. We had a large growth removed from her abdomen the end of November, Thanksgiving. And it's back and it's huge. And we have made the very sad decision to euthanize her this week. So there's just a lot going on and a lot that just needs to be kind of processed and felt and dealt with. In addition, I'm leaving the country, right? I'm leaving my home country. I'm leaving New York City, and there's some workshops and some other things that I would like to teach. Now that I'll have a little bit more schedule freedom, there's some classes and things that I would like to take, and some things Tony and I would like to do in the city before we go. Maybe see some shows, maybe go to a game, maybe, do the things that we kind of haven't done because we've been so focused on our little girl who is like the bestest girl ever. So that said, that's my life right now. And I'm sorry that it might be a lot for you guys to hear. It's a lot for me to be experiencing, but life is life and these things happen and we experience them and we get through them. So let's move on to the main topic for today, which is actually the topic of my next workshop. So I am teaching a live 3-hour workshop in New York City at Bombshell Pilates in Chelsea. And that workshop is on teaching effective multi-level group Pilates classes. Now, I am not a fan of huge group classes, but I know that so many studios are in that model now. And that means that so many teachers are kind of forced into that model now. And one of the biggest concerns that I see online in different forums and Facebook groups for Pilates teachers is the question of really how to handle these multi-level classes, because you're going to get beginners and you're going to get more advanced people and you're going to get all these people thrown together at once. And you're trying to keep them safe and offer effective workouts. So, what are we going to do here, right? How do we do that? And by the way, the workshop is going to be in April. There's also an online opportunity. The recording of the workshop will be available to everyone who registers, whether live or online. So, you'll be able to see everything. And I think it's going to be a really fun time. This is one of the things that I love teaching. Now, how did I get effective at teaching this? How did that happen? Okay. I think there's a few reasons. Number one, I spent a solid 6 years teaching Pilates at Parrot Key, an A-list private resort in Turks and Caicos. And in addition to, lots of privates, I used to teach these big group classes. And of course, any guest could come. We did not level the classes. And so I would get, all kinds of folks. I would get folks with herniated discs, folks with osteoporosis, folks who were pregnant or postnatal, all kinds of individuals showing up into a group Pilates class. And I wasn't going to boot people out of class unless I really, really felt that it would be unsafe for them. And so my job was to make it safe for everybody, but also allow everybody to get a really good workout. And that, my friends, is how I figured this out. Now, another issue is how basically my brain works. And if you've listened to my Pilates mat series on here, you have a little bit of a window into that. But I group exercises because, I'm classically trained in Pilates, right? So I know the order of the exercises and I know what the exercises are. So if I'm looking to make something a little easier, make something a little harder, offer modifications, variations, maybe pull somebody off of one apparatus and put them on something else for a particular exercise or a particular moment, there are certain things that I'm looking for or looking to change or to shift within kind of the same movement in a way. And the way I do this is number one, I can group exercises by shape, literally by shape. So if you look at, for me, if you look at open leg rocker, if you look at teaser, if you look at elephant, if you look at spine stretch, okay, if you look at push through, you're looking at the same shape in relationship. It's just the same shape. It might have a different relationship to gravity. It might have a different relationship to resistance. We can argue that twist one has the same kind of shape. That snake and twist on the reformer would also have a similar shape. So I hope you see where I'm going on that. The side sit up, if you look at that on the reformer, and then you look at the advanced side sit up on the barrel, and then maybe look at going upside on the high chair, right? Or side lunge, whatever you call it, on the high chair or Wunda chair, you're going to see that those are relevantly similar shapes. Okay. And those similar shapes for me is what I'm looking for in terms of, say, giving somebody a modification, a prop, or a variation. So we have shape. Okay. The second thing we have is, what is this exercise working? So, and where else could we possibly do it where it might be a little harder for somebody? So take a look at long stretch on the reformer. Okay. Take a look at the push up or leg pull front on the mat. Take a look at pull straps and T on the long box. Take a look at chest expansion on either the tower reformer or wall spring, or kneeling on the reformer, or if you have it on a pedipole, which is even harder, right? Because you have to have that balance. Do you see where I'm going with this? So here you have a group of exercises that are doing similar work, right? Because here we're working on the back body, we're working on the lats, okay, and we're working on that kind of strength and length, right? Maybe I'm working with folks on swan and we're just doing, modified kind of mat swan, say even on the, pulling them off the reformer and just having them do kind of a swan or a swan dive. But then you can, if you wanted to, you could take somebody over to the high barrel and have them do swan with the legs down or with the legs up on the ladder, right? If you have a tower and you have somebody who's wanting to work more on the shoulder mobility and that kind of strength, you can have them work with swan with the push through bar. Okay. You can also do varieties of flying eagle on the stomach, right? Pulling the leg springs. Again, what are we strengthening here? How are we doing this here? What else can we do that might be in the same shape and either modify or vary for this specific client? Okay, so we're looking at shape, we're looking at function. I also want you to look at relationship to gravity, because sometimes it's just about flipping that can make an exercise more doable or more understandable for a client. And sometimes you can even do that back to back. So I've kind of gotten into sometimes having a client do double leg lower lift, even if they are on the reformer, and then go from double leg lower lift into the flat back short box. Because for me, those are relevantly similar movements, but we're changing the fixed place and changing what's moving. We can also take something like teaser and then turn it into an upstretch. Okay. And there we have the spine mobility, we have the abdominal work, we have the moving the hips through flexion and extension, we have the working through the arms at the same time. Do you see where I'm going with this? We have the spine movement and we have that, work happening again, different relationship to gravity, same movement. So there are places where that's what I look for. Now I'm going to tell you what I don't look for really quickly, because I'm seeing seriously so much shit online that I'm overwhelmed. It's actually why I have an issue posting, because there's so much I want to say. And then I have so much going on in my life that I just kind of stop. So here's what you're not going to do. You're not going to make up exercises that are just more and more complex and possibly weird and possibly not Pilates and could possibly hurt your clients. Okay, you're not going to do that. You don't need to do that. There's no point in doing that. You can actually teach them Pilates and keep them safe and still be really effective and have a good time. All right. Second thing is, you are not just going to give them more fucking props. Like, as though somehow if they are having a hard time doing something, that if you just add more shit to the exercise, it's going to be better. Because it's not. It's just going to make things more complicated, make them less focused, and then possibly make it easier, but just because they're not, focusing on what they should be doing. All right. You're also not just going to make things faster or turn the music on louder and give more and more repetitions of the same exercises to people, because that's just going to cause overuse exercises. And I promise you, people are going to get bored to shit. So what I want you guys to do is, number one, if you can, and it's available to you, learn the classical order of the exercises. Okay. Could you just learn the order of the exercises? It's really not going to hurt you. It's not going to, if you're a totally like on board contemporary teacher, your club Pilates, good on you. But just learn Joe's order of the exercises just to have it in your brain, because I promise you it's going to help you teach. Okay. Instead of doing stick figures and looking at movement progressions, you'll have progressions that are built into the system. And then you can work on the modifications and variations from there. So when you have folks coming in, the first thing that you're going to do is you are not going to force people into some weird definition of neutral spine, which might be too tucked or too arched for them. You're going to talk to them about finding a heavy sacrum, wide shoulder blades, and allowing their torso and spine just to be wherever they are and allowing them to get good breaths. You're going to allow them to struggle a little bit and let the exercise be hard. But if the exercise is undoable, at that point, then you are not necessarily just going to drop spring, because we all know that that makes things less stable for your client. But you're going to think of other things that they can do. So, for example, say you have a client who just isn't finding the first round back on the short box. They're not feeling it. It's all in their back and in their pelvis and in their quads. They've got like nothing going on. They're having a hard time finding the abdominal curl, and you just don't know what to do. Well, there's a couple of things. So number one, if you have a wall spring or a tower or any kind of, or a Cadillac, you are going to pull them off and you're going to take them off and give them some roll down with the bar. Okay. And then you're going to bring them back and you're going to talk about that rollback. Okay. If that's not working, the next thing that you can do is also you can bring them down to the mat, just have them plant their feet down and just roll away from their legs being as round as they can and coming back up. You can also put them on all fours and have them cat-cow a little bit just to get that kind of rounding and extension in the spine if nothing else is working. You can also stand in front of them, have them hold your hands and then round their backs as you kind of pull the upper body forward and they kind of get the ribs and the pelvis backward, right? You can also maybe bring in a magic circle or something for that to give them something to squeeze a little bit to assist the rounding, right? And the reach forward. You can have them lift their legs up into the strap and press their legs out so they're getting a little more support from their glute medius and the TFL and the other glutes. There's, a number of things that you can do in a number of ways that you can address this without overcomplicating things or just skipping the exercise. There's a lot of folks who hate skipping the exercise. If I'm in class and I express that I'm having a hard time doing something, what I would like for my teacher to do is help me do it, not just tell me to skip the exercise. If you have newer people as well, you want them to feel successful. So again, you're going to give them the thing that they can do that they're going to be successful at. So if this kind of thinking about the exercises seems appropriate to you, and you would like to basically see this in play in a studio and how it works out, because like at Bombshell, we teach multi-level open apparatus classes. So like you can come into Bombshell and take a class that's going to have like wonder chair and barrel and reformer and tower and mat and whatever we feel like throwing in there. And we typically have multiple levels of clients come into those classes. Now, our classes are only 3 people maximum, so we can do that, and we have that. But for those of you who are teaching multi-level, say single thing classes, you're teaching mat, you're teaching reformer, you're teaching tower, whatever, but you are in a fuller studio, you will see where you have options. You will also learn options for modifying and varying on that particular piece of equipment. Okay. So that if you're having the client having a question or an issue in one area, you can either give them something similar, flip it to a different relationship to gravity, or add a prop or two to make the thing doable, add a little bit of assistance for them. If this sounds great to you, I would love to see you. I would love to see you guys at Bombshell. And I am teaching this workshop on Saturday, April 19th from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, if you can't make the live, you will get the recording of the workshop, but it is open for anyone who wants to come see me in New York City, as well as for those of you who want to join by Zoom. I will put a link to the workshop registration page in the show notes. And if you guys have any questions, any concerns, you can comment right here under the video, depending on where you're listening. You can also email me, Lynda@LyndaLippin.com, DM me on social media, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Pilates Goddess podcast. Music brought to you by Nerd Salad. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, especially if you liked it. And please like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks.